Uyaimose dinamate muori. Uyaimose dinamate muori. Uyaimose dinamate muori. Uyaimose svino. Come, all you people, come and praise your Maker. Come, all you people, come and praise your Maker. Come, all you people, come and praise your Maker. Come now and worship the Lord. Friends, the beginning of this song, the words are from Shona, the Shona language, and it's spoken in Zimbabwe, and it's pronounced Uyai Mose Tina Mate Mori. Uyai Mose Tina Mate Mori. Uyai Mose Tina Mate Mori. Uyai Mose Zvino. And they're in the chat, so join me. Uyai Mose Tina Mate Mori. Uyai Mose Tina Mate Mori. Uyai Mose Tina Mate Mori. Uyai Mose Svino. Come, all you people, come and praise your Maker. Come, all you people, come and praise your Maker. Come, all you people, come and praise your Maker. Come now and worship the Lord. So this is a song that we started to do. It was introduced by Paul and Charlotte at the first entirely paperless Eucharistic service that we did as an Episcopal church. And the comment that you saw above about compost tea is basically made of particular organisms that make a particularly intense water. And what you do with compost tea is you dump it on ground that hopefully you've already been composting over time. So St. Philip's is a small, we have an average right now of somewhere around 20 people on a Sunday. We don't have a choir. We don't have a music program. I've been there for 5 years. It is also the historically African-American Episcopal Church in Portland. And it is in a highly gentrifying area. And so over the years, well before I got there, it as a congregation became smaller and smaller. And music is a really high value in this congregation. If you know where Black Episcopalians come from, they come from the Caribbean. They're really high Anglo-Catholic. They love music. But the capacity of this church to do music had really diminished. And so a few years into when I got there, the choir stopped singing as a choir. They joined the congregation, in part because having their voices in the congregation made it easier for everybody else to sing. And what that got me thinking about is how do we encourage less complicated music? If you know the Episcopal tradition, we like big music, we like big organs. Even our African-American hymnal is highly orchestrated. It's meant for big choirs. And so I wanted to find ways for us to be able to sing together without having to have all of that musical support. And Elizabeth and I happened to go to a Music That Makes Community workshop. I'm not even sure. I think I got an invitation from someone who didn't end up showing up at the conference. We decided to go up and we loved it. And we tried to introduce the music into the community, but a lot of the music that we were learning was far more oriented towards white congregations. And then Music Makes Community offered a workshop in Cincinnati, specifically around paperless music from the African-American tradition. So 4 of us from St. Philip's flew out, we're in Portland, Oregon, we flew out to Cincinnati, Ohio. And that began a time of being able to introduce much more culturally specific music to our congregation in small ways. You know, we did it right. We do 2 songs while we're receiving the Eucharist. One of them we did paperlessly so we could get Episcopalians kind of out of the book. We spent a lot of time in our books. We started doing paperless music around the announcement of the gospel so that people could just stand and sing. And we had been doing that for a number of years by the time this workshop happened, which we did for the Diocese of Oregon, but then we had Charlotte and Paul come to St. Philip's and they did the entire service, sung, and I couldn't believe what I heard. We went from a congregation that had started to sing more to everybody was singing and everybody was harmonizing. And the beautiful thing is that didn't just happen that Sunday. Since that Sunday, everything has shifted. And we now have 4 people two of whom were not in that original trip to Cincinnati, 4 people fully engaged in actually collaborating together to decide what music is done. We still do some hymns. We've got some traditional folks and we do like our hymns, but to decide what music is done, they share leadership, they spread it around, and everybody's singing. I have a congregation of people whose average age is easily 80, and everybody is harmonizing, including the gentleman who sounds a little bit like a bullhorn. But it's beautiful because everyone is participating, and the way they talk about being able to feel connected to one another has really shifted. And so I am really grateful for these little tidbits and that I've had, and the ability to kind of introduce that into a fairly traditional Episcopal service. And then that kind of shot in the arm, that compost tea that we got, that really things have kind of sprouted in the parish around music and participation and people feeling connected, that I'm really grateful for, because I can't create that as a priest. That isn't, I can't just make that happen. It takes the organic work of everybody together. And so I'm really grateful for all that Music That Makes Community has brought, and I'm excited to continue forward with it. So, and we, oh, by the way, that opening, that was one of the sacred, like, hymn with an organ spots. That's the opening service, the procession in the Episcopal Church. That's what we've been doing since for at least a month and a half now, and everybody loves it. And so we're really grateful for that piece.
And I had somebody just last Sunday ask, well, aren't we doing Uyai Mose this Sunday?
Yeah, like Advent's
Sorry,
coming.
we're not
You gotta
doing
wait
it
till
right now.
you gotta wait till the nativity, then we'll do it again.
Uyai Mose, Tina Mate Mwari,